So let's get started. So really, first of all, the instructions say to solve, and really they should say evaluate. That's just a vocab thing, and y'all know I'm picky about that because we're really not solving anything, but we're figuring out if we're given a specific input, a specific x value, what y value comes out. So I want y'all to be able to recognize that this is really, really easy, okay? And there's a good chance that there's going to be one or two of these on the star. But you're given this original function, f of x equals 2x minus 8, right? You'll see that there? So the first one says f of 3. So remember, this notation is just telling you it's labeling. We've got function f versus function g. So the letter on the outside, don't get tripped up on that. Just know, hey, I'm talking about this guy. And they are replacing x with a 3, which means you need to go and replace x with a 3. So you're going to end up doing 2, take the x out, put the 3 in, minus 8, and then you can type that right-hand side, 2 times 3 minus 8 in your calculator. And what'd y'all get? Negative 2. So technically how you would write this is f of 3 is equal to negative 2, but negative 2 is the output. So that means when you put in an x value of 3, you get a y value of negative 2. That's giving you an ordered pair in that function, okay? Same idea with negative 4. It's f of negative 4. So you're going to take a negative and you're going to put it right there. So we would say 2 parentheses negative 4 minus 8. When you evaluate that, what'd y'all get?
Negative 16.
Negative 15? 16. Negative 16. And then there's our output for there. Okay? Now, function g, we might have some differences here because let's talk about what's happening in function g. G of x is equal to what? Read it. Read me the function. What does this say? X squared minus 3. Okay? It's the same idea as far as replacing x with a number. However, this time, instead of multiplying x by a number, it's squaring that. That's a different operation. So we have to write it exactly how it is. And the big thing, especially with squares, is you really need to put the input, what you're subbing in for x, you need to put that in parentheses. So if you did not write it this way on your paper, please fix it. This needs to say 5 in parentheses and squared on the outside. Okay? Make sure you wrote that. And then minus 3. And then you type that exactly how you wrote it here. So I would do my parentheses. 5, parentheses, squared on the outside, minus 3. That's a minus sign, not a negative. Okay, so what number did we get for that? Raise your hand if you got that. Good? Okay. All right, let's talk about the other one. This time, what are we going to put in for x? Negative 2. That's our input, okay? Now, remember what I said. You need to put the input in parentheses. This might be where some things got different. So I'm putting in a negative 2, squaring it, and then subtracting 3. Y'all, there is a difference between a negative sign and a minus sign, and we've got to know that today. Okay?
Zane, what'd you get on this problem?
I got negative 12.
Yeah, negative 12. Daniel, what'd you get?
23.
What'd you get, Ethan?
Like 3.
3. What'd you get?
1.
Yeah, we got all kinds of different numbers on this one, so something happened.
Oh,
So
my, oh,
we
my,
need to pay
oh, my.
attention on this one because I just talked to 4 different people just now. We got 4 different answers.
I did it how she did.
It's
So
1.
if you didn't write it like this, you messed up. It should be written just like Miss McCartney wrote it.
Wait, and I'm looking at your papers, and I'm not seeing a lot of parentheses in there.
So the next question is, maybe did I type it in the calculator
We
correctly?
gotta
Maybe
press
I
it.
wrote it right, but I didn't type it in.
I did
Okay.
it.
There we go. Yay, I was right.
So Miss McCartney get it and got
Yes, I
1.
was. I got 1.
Wait.
Should have gotten 1, Zane.
Stupid.
No.
Is that wrong?
Should have gotten 1.
We should have gotten 1, okay? Again, if you did not get 1, we need you to retype that because here's the thing. We are going to be doing a really big, crazy formula today. And the bad news is that it looks really scary, okay? But the good news is that we're putting most of it in our calculator, and our calculator is going to do the math for us. But if you cannot type these in the calculator correctly, you're not going to get any of the answers right. Okay, so we have to be careful. There is a difference between a negative and a minus. And then when we start squaring stuff, which part of our formula has a squared term, you've got to know, look me in the eyes right now. You've got to know to put the number that's being squared in parentheses and the squared goes on the outside, okay? All right, I'm going to give you another, it's not going to look like this, but I'm going to give you an expression. Everyone draw a little line on your paper, and then I want you to write this. Get your pencil. I want you to write this. B squared minus 4AC. Write that down, okay? This is one little part of the crazy formula that we're going to look at today. And I think it's easier to do this part to the side. Now, I want you to write this to the side. A equals 2. B equals -7. C equals 4. So the idea is I gave you an expression, b squared minus 4ac. I gave you values for a, b, and c. I want you to evaluate. I want you to plug in to this formula, remembering what I said about parentheses and signs and things like that, and I want you to tell me what that number is going to be. So here's the thing. I believe 17 is the right answer, but here's what makes this tricky. Is while you guys were doing the correct thing and putting the letters in the correct spot, if you don't type it correctly, and there's a lot of ways you can mess it up. If you don't type it correctly, you are going to get the wrong answer. So I want you to be in the habit, especially for this next 2 day and a half, when we're working with this formula, you showing me how you plug in and how you type is going to be critical because that's the only partial credit that I can give you. Otherwise, it's all wrong, okay? So I have to be able to see what's going on. And remember, I said anytime you plug in for a number, what do you do around that number? Parentheses. So the first thing says B. What is my B value that I gave you? -7. Miles, where does the squared go?
On the outside.
On the outside. That is one mistake. If you put the squared on the inside, you're not going to get the right number. It's got to be number squared on the outside. Then the formula, this is a minus sign. This guy is a negative. This guy is a minus. If you mistype those, you could be getting like what you got, a 4-digit number, and it's not that, okay? 4, and then open up parentheses again. A is 2. Open up parentheses. C is 4. If you did not type it exactly how we got this, then you're not going to get the same thing. So squared on the outside, -4 times 2 times 4. And the answer is 17, okay? So that is how you type it. But again, putting no parentheses on the squared is going to give you a different number. Putting the squared in the parentheses is going to give you a different number. Or what Jahan did was, I think, did you have this in parentheses and then you did a negative?
No, we didn't do parentheses at the beginning.
We didn't do parentheses at all. That can also give you a problem if you do a double negative. Yeah, is that what you got? So there's a lot of places that you can mess that up. So you got to be really, really careful about it. And again, if you don't have the parentheses written on your page, write it in. So that way, if you go back to this, you know what's going on. Now, this little phrase right here is a big part, well, actually a small part of a really big formula that we're about to look at. Okay? So last class, we started solving quadratics. We're in the solving unit. Let me show you the calendar real quick so you can have an idea of what we're doing. We're in the solving quadratics. Last time we talked about solving by factoring. And we factored and we set equal to 0, all the things. We love factoring. We're getting good at that. And we practiced that. Today and next class, we're going to be solving by the quadratic formula. This is just another tool in the toolkit of solving, okay? But the formula is on your chart, so I want you to make sure you have your chart. We're going to locate it there. It's not something that you have to memorize. It will be given to you on the STAR test and everything, but you just have to know how to use it. But again, this is going to help us find, do you remember the vocab for what we solved for from last class? Solutions. Anyone remember the other one?
No.
Starts with a Z. It's on the bottom of your page that you're probably looking at. Zeros, okay? So that's what we're all talking about here. So we're going to spend a day and a half-ish working on that. Then we're going to practice. Then we've got review and test next week. Okay? So just kind of be aware of what's going on there. And then we're ending the quarter like fairly soon after that. We're going to do some EOC review that last week. Okay? But here's what our quadratic formula looks like. Locate it at the bottom. Ooh, that's a weird color on mine. Let me find a different one. Where it says quadratic equations. Do y'all see that? And this is an old one. It's algebra 2. One. Why do I have old ones? Here we are. Here we go. Let's see if that shows up better. Okay, quadratic equations, and then we see the quadratic formula right there. Do y'all see it? Okay, does it look crazy? Does it scare you?
Yeah.
It's a little scary looking, I think. Okay, but we don't have to memorize it because it is going to be right there. But we've got to know like where there's negatives and where there's minuses because there is a difference between those in there. Okay, so here's how you read it. Okay, and then I'm going to sing you a little jingle because everybody needs to just know this formula. I feel like it's just a rite of passage. But this is going to give us x equals, because that's what we're solving for. Our solutions, our zeros, that's what we're looking for. Negative b, again, negative b, plus or minus, that's a minus sign, square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? So I want you to know the little song with it. Y'all know that little toy? What is it? Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. What's that called? Jack in the Box. It's like an elf, you know, and it keeps popping up. Okay? That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the tune for our little quadratic formula, okay? So here we go. I'm going to sing it to you, then we're all going to sing it together. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All together now? I'm telling you, we could call my husband right now who hasn't taken Algebra 2 in a very long time, and he still knows this formula. He doesn't know what it does, but he knows the formula. So here we go.
Plus the minus sign.
Plus and a minus, okay?
Okay.
Ready? Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it's worth knowing because you've got to know when you're using a plus, a minus, or a negative, okay? So Miles brought our attention. He said there's a plus and a minus. You are correct. So we will be doing this. Remember, we can get two solutions potentially. So we will be doing one with a plus, and then we will be doing one with a minus when we type it in, okay? So it'll be two different types. But here's our steps, okay? So we got it all kind of laid out for you. We're going to do it in chunks so that way it's like less typing in our calculator, but the calculator is going to take care of the math for us, okay? But we just got to get the equation ready. So where it says steps, I'm going to be highlighting here. Step 1. What does step 1 say? Set equal to 0. That was the same thing as solving by factoring. We have to get our equation equal to 0. So that means we might have to move stuff over, okay? Then step 2, we need to go through and we need to label A, B, and C. If you remember, your quadratic equations look like this. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And a, b, and c are just those coefficients. The a's in front of the x squared, the b's in front of the x. We're on the next page. The c is the constant. It's the number that doesn't have a variable. So we're going to label what those are. And then those are going to be what we plug in. Plug into the formula, split it up, solve it in the calculator. And remember, you're going to get two answers because you have to do one with the plus and one with the minus. And we're going to write them separately as well. Okay? So let's look at our first equation. They just gave us y equals. Go ahead and put a 0 there. That should say 0 instead of y. 0 equals x squared plus 4x minus 21. Okay? So now we need to label. What is our a? What is our coefficient of x squared in this problem? It's the coefficient of x squared. No, coefficient is the number.
Number in front.
The number in front.
1.
1. It's implied to be a 1. If they don't have something written there, it's implied to be a 1. We've seen that. We know that. Okay? B is the coefficient of x, which in this case, Daniel, what's the coefficient of x?
4.
positive 4. Okay, you don't have to put a positive, but if there is a minus sign, that's telling you that guy's negative. And then, Heidi, what's our C? What's our constant?
21.
What kind?
Negative.
Negative 21. Okay, so again, you got to take that sign with it. So here's our A, here's our B, here's our C. I always want you labeling what those are every single time you do this formula.
It will make your life
Okay.
easier.
It really does. Okay? Now, let's follow the formula. These are kind of light on our paper. Let's write this in. This is negative B plus or minus B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. Okay? And I like to, where there's boxes, I would put parentheses, kind of like how we do here. I'm also going to write this is a negative. This is a minus. And this one is a minus sign. Okay, does that make sense if you label it that way? N means negative, the other one means minus. Again, because typing matters. And we're going to break this up. We're going to kind of do it in a couple steps here. But let's plug into our formula with this A, this B, and this C. So the formula says negative, and then what's the B that we're plugging in? So I'm going to put 4 right there. Y'all see what I'm doing? Plus or minus square root of B squared. What's B again? 4. Minus that big 4. That's always there in the formula, no matter what your A, B, and C are. That's always got to be a 4. 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is negative 21. All over 2 times, which is 1. Okay? Now, for simplicity and to make our life easier, I would like y'all to do this B squared minus 4AC part first. Okay? I'm going to highlight that. I want us to do that in our calculator. We're not going to do a square root around it. We're just literally going to do the B squared minus 4AC and figure out what that number is, so that way I can break this up just to be a little bit smaller. Okay? So here's what I mean. Let's go ahead and write x equals negative 4. We're going to do the first one with the plus, and then draw your square root, and then let's type what I highlighted. Okay? Exactly how we wrote it, parentheses and all. So we need to open parentheses, put a 4, close, squared goes on the outside, minus 4.
We're just using a calculator right now.
Do we type it
We
exactly?
type it in the calculator.
We type exactly what I have up here. And we're just doing the B squared minus 4AC, what's underneath the square root. I just want to do that first and get that number, okay? And again, the minus sign it's always a minus sign in front of the 4. If a number that you're plugging in is negative, then it's a negative sign. There is a difference between the minus and the negative, okay? Make sure you got that. And what we get?
100.
100. Did anybody not get 100?
I did a
You
minus
did a
sign.
negative sign there. Copy and paste. Do y'all know how to copy and paste in the calculator?
Control C, Control V.
No. If you mess up, this is going to be helpful.
The square root?
We don't put the square root yet, Johan. We don't put the square root yet. Okay? If you mess up,
Go up and hit enter.
you scroll up, and it highlights in blue, and then you press enter. So like if you forgot a negative sign or something, you can copy, paste it, and then kind of scroll around. And we're going to do that in a minute, okay?
There you go.
But so you should be getting 100. If you did not get 100, you need to tell us right now that you didn't get 100. Did you get 100? Did you get 100? Did you get 100? Did you? Everybody get 100?
She did.
You didn't? Okay. All right. So now what I've done is make my life a little bit easier. I know that that square root is going to be 100 in the formula. Okay?
Is it good?
Divided by 2 times 1. So that's one thing we're going to type. Hey, eyes on me. We're going to type 1 with a plus, but then we're also going to type the exact same thing, but instead of a plus, we're going to put a, what does the formula say? Plus or minus. So we're going to do this twice. to get our potential two
So we
solutions.
gotta type that in the calculator.
We're going to type that in our calculator. It's a lot better than what we wrote originally. Okay? Write it down. Both of them. I want you writing them both down. One with the plus and one with the minus. Okay?
I did it.
And I'm telling y'all right now, this formula is going to be its own test topic. If you don't write anything down and you get the wrong answer, it is all wrong. Okay? Which means there's 4 questions. So if you get it all wrong, you're starting at 75. And you show me nothing. If you show me something, at least I can help with that. Okay? All right, here's how we're going to type this. We're going to put it in as a fraction. How do we get a fraction in our calculator? Alpha y equals enter. And again, we're going to do exactly what we've written.
-4.
You can do it in your head if you don't want to use your calculator. Negative,
What's the minus?
the minus is right here.
Oh yeah.
So negative parentheses 4 plus second x2, that's our square root, 100. Scroll down, 2 times 1. So we're going to do all that with a plus.
Wait. Where am I?
Oh.
I pressed second X2
And then you're putting a 100 in there.
in select.
3 for the first one, okay? So this equals 3. So one of my solutions is x equals 3. Okay? Now, did you go retype the whole thing or did you copy paste it? Okay, you can retype the whole thing, but also this is cool. The only thing that changes between this first one and this one is we go from the plus to the minus. It's not a negative. That one's a minus. Okay? So watch. Scroll up. Once. It's kind of hard to tell on mine, but your calculator 3 should be in blue. Scroll twice. Now that whole thing is in blue.
And select enter.
Press enter. And it's going to paste it in there. And then now we just use our left arrow and we go to where the plus sign was in front of the square root and we swap it out with a
I did it.
minus sign. Enter.
3 and then -7.
Negative 7.
-7.
So my solutions are x equals 3 and x equals negative 7. Okay? Now, it's possible to get 2 different numbers. It's possible to get the same number twice, which means you just have one solution. It's possible for your calculator to say error, which means you have no solution. Okay? I don't know if we'll see that today or tomorrow. Also possible, fractions, decimals. Okay? These can get kind of ugly. And we'll kind of get more into the ugly the more we work on this. Yes?
For the second equation, how did you get -7?
I changed everything everything was the same except for it was a minus square root 100.
How did you add the minus?
I copy and pasted it. He can look. He can help you. Okay? All right, let's try the next one. Are we equal to 0 on number 2? Okay, so I don't have to do anything there. I need to label A, B, C. All right, for this problem, Brayden, what is A? What is A?
-5.
Negative 5. Jahan, what is B? 1. Daniel, what is C? 4. Okay?
You write down A, B, and C.
We're going to take this stuff away on the next page, and you're going to need to know how to write that in. So here we go. Negative B, you do all your plugins. Okay?
For our first 2.
1 and 1 minus 4 times A, which is what's A? Negative 5 times C, which is
4.
all over 2 negative 5. Okay? Again, let's do this part first.
You have to rewrite it.
Yes, you are not writing that much. You are not doing any math. Your calculator is doing it for you. I do not want you to complain. Okay? All right, let's talk about what we get here. Parentheses, 1 squared minus 4, negative 5, times 4. Okay? What this is called, we're not going to go too crazy into this, but this expression that we're doing first that I've highlighted, that b squared minus 4ac, this is called the discriminant. And this gives you an idea of what your answers are going to look like. Are they going to be pretty numbers? Are they going to be decimals? Are they going to be the same number? It just gives you a little bit more idea. You'll explore it more in Algebra 2. But it does give you an idea of what's going on here. So I got 81 for this number. 81. Did anybody not get 81?
Oh.
You should be typing. I can't do this. There's no point in me doing this 800 times. You have to do it on your own and make sure you can type these.
Oh shoot.
You're doing the b squared minus 4ac first.
Yeah, I got
Baby,
it.
you gotta figure this out.
Okay? Zane, did you get 81?
Yeah.
Okay. Now go to the next part and write from there.
4.
So are we done?
No.
Wait.
Why would we
No.
be
That's
done?
it.
Well, now you got to go back to the rest of the formula.
Why would we be done already? Please tell me.
Oh, is that only
Hold on one second.
do that to find the square root? That's
You find what goes in that,
Inside.
underneath the square root. Because here's the thing, I feel like putting all of it in the calculator at one time is too much. So if we kind of break it down, this isn't that bad to type in your calculator. But this is a lot. So we kind of break it down. And I think you will get a fraction on one of these. The plus.
-4/5.
Negative 4 over 5. Okay, negative 4 over 5. And then I scroll up, copy, and swap out the plus for what?
A minus.
A minus. And you can't forget to go do that because there's 2 possibilities. And what'd you get for that other one? 1. Okay. Fractions are okay.
Those.
There's no problem, say, with the fraction. But what if your answer choices were in decimal form? What if your answer choices are in decimal form? What are you going to do?
Then you gotta convert it to a fraction.
How do you convert it?
No, we're going to convert it to a decimal. How do you convert this to a decimal?
You just said, what if they're in decimal form? You have to convert it.
No, I said, what if your answer choices? If you get this
Right,
and you
yeah,
go
so
look at
move
A,
that
B,
choice.
C, and D,
Uh,
and they're
What if
decimals,
Yeah.
how do you do it?
4 divided by 5.
Negative 4 divided by 5. And we get negative 0.8. I want you to be able to either keep a fraction or change to a decimal because, stop,
Sorry.
because there are a lot of times in this formula, and we're going to see this, we're spreading this in a day and a half. There are a lot of times that you will get decimals, and they are not always going to be very pretty. And you're going to have to round. And there are just ways, and you'll see through the next couple days, we've got some warm-ups in there that they can just put your answer choices in a different form, and we have to know how to match it. So being able to convert a fraction to a decimal to a fraction, a square root to a decimal, that type of thing, we have to be able to do. Okay? So if you want to go fraction and decimal, just divide. All right? What if you want to go the other way? Do y'all know how to turn this negative 0.08 to a fraction?
Can you just like?
You see the math button right here? Everybody press that math button. Some of the calculators is kind of worn off, but it's right underneath the green button. Press that. Press math.
Fraction.
It says to fraction, enter. And it'll turn it there.
Whoa.
Or if you go math, option 2 says to decimal. Option 2, if you scroll down, enter, it'll turn to a decimal.
Oh.
If I knew this last year,
Life would be easy.
Oh, I know they.
You can do that.
I would.
All right, let's try a couple more. Let's do let's number these. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1 I think you can do on your own. Let's do 2 and 4. How about that? 2 and 4, and then you're gonna do the other on your own. How about that? Yes? All right, let's write our steps. Number 1, we always want to set equal to what? That's important, and that's not going to be done on 3/4 of this page, okay? So we're going to have to practice that. Step 2, plug into formula. And remember, it's negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. 3, plug in calc. Do 1 with the plus, 1 with the minus. You have to plug it in the calculator twice. Okay? Now, we're doing 2 and 4. Focus on 2 with me. Are we set equal to 0 on number 2?
No.
No, we are not. We did this last class when we did solving by factoring. So, Ethan, do you remember what we did?
No.
How do I set it equal to 0? What do I need to move?
I don't know.
Well, what should it be equal to?
0.
What is it currently equal to?
Oh, just add 1.
Yeah,
There you go.
we just add 1. So, if I add 1 right here, then I have to add 1 to the other side. Under what, Miles? Do we go under the x squared?
The 1.
We go under the constant. It's like term. Okay? If there is one. If not, then it just moves to the other side. And so I end up with 2x squared doesn't change. Plus 5x doesn't change. 1 plus 1 is 2. Now we're equal to 0. Okay? With factoring, I always wanted to make sure that this x squared term is positive. With quadratic formula, it really doesn't matter. Okay? You can kind of be whatever. All right, so now we need to label. Heidi, what's our A? Mark out the original. We're done. You're looking at this one. What's your A value? 2. Zane, what's your B value?
5.
And Nick, what's your C value?
Took me a second.
2.
Thank you, Nick. Okay? All right, so here we go. The formula's gone. We got to plug it in ourselves. X equals negative, open parentheses, people. Negative, what goes first?
2.
No,
5.
negative B. What's B?
5.
5. Plus or minus square root of
5. 5
B squared
squared
minus
4.
4
Then parentheses 2.
parentheses
This is a
Parentheses
big
2.
one. Crazy.
all over 2.
Squared.
No,
2.
2 times 2.
Parentheses 2.
2 times 2. It's a lot. It's a lot to write down. It's much nicer when we left the little framework for you.
Oh, whatever you have to hear, right?
Now, we're going to do this one first. This little part first. We all need to make sure we get the same number. Remember, that's called your discriminant. That's your vocab word for the day. Okay? Parentheses. 5 parentheses squared goes on the outside. Minus 4 parentheses 2 parentheses 2. Let's all make sure we get the same number when we do that.
I got 9.
9.
9.
We got 9. Anybody not get 9? Speak now.
So we get like 4 you should.
Everybody get 9? You
You
got what? Okay, good.
Give me 4.
Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to separate this into 2 different parts. X equals negative 5 plus square root 9 over 2 times 2. What's the other one? X equals what? Negative 5 minus square root 9 all over.
5
I
have to be
think we got home.
Okay, then we got a problem.
Does the 5 have to be squared?
This 5 does.
Okay.
The first, when you do the under square root part, that's squared.
Oh, but
This
that
one is not.
There's 2 of them.
Okay? All right, plug those in. Get your solution. Let's, actually, I know I said we were going to do 4. Let's set 4 equal to 0, and then I want to do one where we get kind of ugly numbers, and then I'm going to have you come back and finish this page. But let's at least set 4 equal to 0. Now, again, there's a couple ways that we could do it, okay? Right now, we have negative x squared equals 15x minus 16, and we need one side of our equation to be equal to 0. So, do y'all want to move one thing, or do you want to move 2 things?
1.
I'd rather move 1. Do we agree?
Yeah, sure.
Wouldn't y'all rather do like 1 step instead of 2 steps? So it's okay. We want to be set equal to 0. Typically, we write it like this. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. But it's the same thing if we have 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We can put 0 on the left or the right. It doesn't matter. So if I look at this problem, I've got one thing over here versus two things over here. I think it would be less work to just take this negative x squared and move it that way and get my 0 right here. Are y'all okay with that? Well, how do I move a negative x squared?
Plus.
I add an x squared, and what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. But is there an x squared to add to over here?
Would it be 3x3?
No, because it's not multiplying.
I don't know why I did this. I did all the moves for the second problem down here.
That's okay.
I split it.
Okay, hey, listen to my question. Is there an x squared term to add to over here? Is there an x squared? No. So I just have positive x squared.
So does it go to the back?
I put it in front. You want to put it in this order. You want to put squared x constant. So
It says A, B, and C for you.
correct. If it doesn't, if it gets out of order, you're going to have to really pay attention to what's A, B, and C. Okay? So what is our A here? 1. What is our B? What? What is our C?
16 negative.
Okay? All right, do this one real quick. I want to show you, this is kind of getting into what we're going to do more of next class, and that's fine. It just is one less thing we have to do next class. But I want to do this first problem right here. Go ahead and number these. 1, 2, 3, and
We're
4.
skipping ahead too much.
We are skipping ahead, but that's okay. Okay, we're on page 9. I want to do problem number 1. Okay? And I just want you to see that sometimes these can get ugly. Okay? And a little bit crazy. So remember your steps. What do we have to be equal to? Y'all, what do we have to be equal to?
0.
Are we there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Miles, what's our A? Stop.
9.
9. Braden, what's our B?
-7.
Muhammad, what's our C? Okay. All right, so let's go to our formula. We're going to plug everything in parentheses. Negative.
Isn't it
Our
plus-
B value is -7, which means I'm going to have a double negative right there. That's okay. Plus or minus.
Doesn't that mean like 2 parentheses?
You don't have to do. You only put parentheses around the A, the B, and the C. The other negatives on the outside. Square root of, this is really important here, is getting this B squared in parentheses exponent on the outside. Minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. I know it's a lot. It's a lot to write down. Bless you. But we got to get all those signs right. We got to make sure that we type this right. Okay? I'm going to do what's under the radical first. That's called the discriminant. And I'm going to type it exactly how I wrote it. -7 in parentheses. Miles, where's the square go?
Where'd you get a 9?
Huh?
A
Oh. I missed you. My bad.
minus 4 times A times C. Okay?
What?
We're doing the exact same thing. Nothing's changing. We're typing that in. Now, what number are we getting here?
193.
If you're not getting 193, you need to tell us. Okay?
I think I'm getting 193.
Now, here's the thing. I know that this is going to get messy because, like Cruz was saying, if you square root 193, is 193 a perfect square?
No.
No. Square root of 193 is a big mess, okay? So I know that this is going to get messy because this number is not a perfect square. But that's okay. It can get messy. Honestly, I feel like they're more messy with quadratic formula than actually being nice, pretty numbers. So I'm going to do this exact same thing that I did on the other page. I'm going to separate this now. X is going to be equal to -7 plus square root of 193 all over 2 times 9. That's one solution. The other one's going to be negative 7 minus square root of 193 all over 2 times 9. Okay? Do you see how it says estimated solutions right here? That's kind of a giveaway that, hey, we're going to have to round. Okay? We should be getting decimals, and you'll see when I start typing this, I am, in fact, going to get some decimals. Alpha y equals, enter, negative 7, because that's my negative b, plus square root of 193 all over 2a.
Did you get 1.16?
How does that make sense?
Like I don't know. I don't know why. Can you check this real quick?
Oh, what the heck?
It's okay. It's very common that they do work out to where they're not very pretty, but there still are 2 solutions. As far as rounding goes, I believe on our test we're going to have you round to the tenths, which is how many decimals?
10. 9.
What? To the tenths? That's 1 decimal. There's 1 0 in 10.
10,
Okay?
hundredths.
Thousandths.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
So, like, if I went to the tenths here, we'll say we're going to round to the tenths. 1.16. Okay? I'm going to look at the second number, 6. Is that going to bump up the 1, or is it going to keep it the same?
Bump up.
It's going to bump up. So, I would say x equals 1.2. Okay? That's one of my solutions. For the other one, negative 0.38, is the 3 going to bump up? Is the 8 going to bump up the 3 to a 0.4 or what?
Yeah.
So negative 0.4. 0.4. And we'll practice rounding a couple different ways. And we'll do this more next class. But I just want you to see that sometimes that can happen. Okay? All right, so what I want you to do right now is go back to page 7, which we were on. Page 7. I want you to finish problem 1 and 3. And then if you still have time, you can get your Chromebook and go to Mathia. There's a quadratic formula practice.
I'm not gonna have any time.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
not anytime.
Go to page 7.
I don't know if you know.